Well, okay, so we got a newsy thing, and we're just gonna nerd out for the other portion.
Excellent.
And so the good news about this newsy thing is that it's official. It was said by somebody.
It's confirmed. We're completely out of the realm of rumors.
Right. The bad thing is that the person that said it is Kathleen Kennedy, so people freak the fuck out immediately.
Of course, it's the word of Satan herself.
Yeah, you can't go to any comment section of any post with Kathleen Kennedy on it without people just frothing at the fucking mouth.
Brah, woman with power.
Yeah.
Brah!
Ugh. But anyway, they were talking. She was talking to The Wrap, by the way.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, I think I have. It's a news thing.
Yeah. Okay.
It's talking about the future of Star Wars.
Okay.
Which right now we're a little unsure about, because even though we know there are properties coming up, we're used to having films being the be all and end all of Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
And they're talking about Mandalorian and Baby Yoda, and she mentioned that the future of Star Wars, quote unquote, remains in the air. And she's talking about how they're taking a step back. And step back with the purpose of really absorbing what George Lucas created.
Okay.
Now, what do you think some people immediately took from this?
George Lucas is coming back. He's going to save Star Wars.
And yes, and also that Kathleen Kennedy is leaving.
She's fired. Yeah. Get her out.
Which, by the way, since we're talking about that, I want to say that Kathleen Kennedy could leave Disney tomorrow, could leave Lucasfilm tomorrow, and I still will not believe any of the 130 times it was rumored that she was being fired or executed or something.
I think you mean 130 million?
Yeah. The reason is because after 130 million rumors about leaving Star Wars and like how terrible of a human being I was, and I would quit too. So we've gotten to the part where like it's becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy, where like Star Wars wasn't going to fire Kathleen Kennedy. Like she's probably one of the most powerful producers in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I would just be like, fuck Star Wars, dude. I'm so tired of Star Wars. And you know what? She's not the only one either. Did you see John Boyega post on Twitter last week?
He's just done.
Yeah, yeah, because someone got into his mentions or something, and he's like, I don't know that I'm paraphrasing, of course. I don't know how to tell you this, but I'm fucking done with Star Wars, and you guys are the reason why. Like you're the worst fucking scum in the world. And I kind of feel like we're eventually gonna get a tweet from Kathleen Kennedy like that. Who's like, fuck it. I'm done.
Even if we don't, like, even if it never goes that far, in like 5, 10, 20 years, she's eventually going to retire.
Yeah.
And the Mike Zeros of the world are going to be like, Kathleen Kennedy is out! Star Wars is saved!
Yeah. Also, confirmed.
Yeah.
You know, that they weren't just throwing
it has been revealed that Kathleen Kennedy has retired.
Yeah. Oh, man. Someone posted on one of our... We posted a video this week. They posted about Mike Zero.
Mm-hmm.
It's hilarious. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I greatly appreciated it. Another thing she said, that's what we've been doing. We've been having a great deal of fun doing it and meeting lots of different filmmakers and talent, being making Star Wars and everything. Mm-hmm. Now, the way that this conversation kind of like, I guess, developed
proceeded,
is whether or not Star Wars has a future on film or in TV, which is kind of an interesting thought that I've got some my own thoughts about as well. But she did seem to suggest that television and streaming right now might be the new home for Star Wars. She said, the ability to be very character-driven with extended storytelling and connected storytelling, I think the space offers us a great opportunity to do that. There's so many fans out there and so many filmmakers that have been influenced by Star Wars for so long, and it's a fantastic opportunity to get a sense of who wants to be a part of this.
Okay.
Now, I know, so the first thing that I'm sure people will think or maybe will post about is that like it's moving to TV or streaming because of how terrible of a failure it was or whatever. The first thing is, and don't get me wrong, like there's stuff in the sequel trilogy that I don't like. I think the one thing that all Star Wars fans can kind of unite on is that there is at least one part of the sequel trilogy that they all hate, right?
Yes.
You and I don't like Rise of Skywalker. Apparently, everyone and all their friends hate The Last Jedi.
It's fine. Different people
right.
just like different things.
The thing is that that's not really. So Star Wars is not a financial failure.
No, not at all.
And I'm not saying that to be a Disney shill. It's just a fact. Like,
Yeah, I wish we were Disney shills.
Yeah.
I would love to get paid.
yeah. Which, by the way, Disney, if you're listening to this and you want us to be shills,
Yeah.
I'll fucking do it.
Call us up, man.
It will cost less than you think it
Very
would.
little.
This is the thing. They're financially very successful. When you compare them to other Star Wars movies, they might be more or less successful than different movies and other trilogies.
Well, that depends on, like, you'd have to adjust for inflation, and then you'd have to compare to the budgets when they were being made and how much profit and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Film has been moving in the direction of streaming for a while now, and just not Star Wars.
At least since COVID. Probably before.
I mean, I think way before. I think, for me personally, I think it was Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden you had a TV show that was putting out cinema quality special effects and VFX, and it was a cinematic experience. And it kind of, so like if you do a Star Wars trilogy of 3 movies, they're roughly going to be about 2 hours apiece to tell a story, and that's all you have.
6 hours.
Right. 6 hours to tell a story, whereas you can do...
Game of Thrones is what? 20, 30 hours, even longer?
The whole thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there are some seasons that don't have as many episodes as others. But you're right that like the normal amount of time you would have with a streaming series is a lot more. You have a chance to develop characters, and you see this in The Mandalorian, by the way.
Oh, absolutely.
They did some really great character development and stuff that if they had to pack it into one movie, some things might have fallen through the cracks, right?
So I have 2 overriding thoughts on this. The first is that Disney's streaming Star Wars stuff has been The Mandalorian and the last season of Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And in my book, those were both pretty darn good.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd say Disney is like 2 for 2 on Star Wars over streaming services. So that's thought 1.
Yeah, good job.
Thought 2. We were kind of alluding to this earlier, but it depends on what sort of story you want to tell and what sort of presentation you're giving that story.
Yeah.
So like these long, the easiest comparison I can think of is Star Trek.
Okay.
So Star Trek. Yes, I know. Let's get it out of our system now. We all hate Star Trek.
My partner of 11 years loves Star Trek, and we coexist.
Yes.
Anyway.
So Star Trek has TV series, but it also has movies. And if you look and compare those, they're very, very different. Like the series allow you to carry out these long, ongoing stories that can be years or seasons. Like you can start it in season 1, and the plot line doesn't fully resolve until season 3 or whatever.
Right.
You have this a really long time to let those stories stretch and marinate. Whereas in a movie, it's much more like action and spectacle and visual effects focused. So you you lose some of that like narrative stretchiness, but you gain a lot more action and excitement.
Sure.
So depending on what sort of story you want to tell, you can kind of sculpt it and mold it either for that like 2.5 hour movie or that like 4 or 5 season long epic.
Yeah, and I think that's 100% perfectly said, and also probably why now that we have the ability to live in that format, but also add to it cinema quality, visual effects and stuff. It's kind of you're kind of molding everything into one. It's become this like cultural event, like Game of Thrones. Yeah. I think Game of Thrones changed a lot of shit, by the way. Despite what I think about it and how it ended, it really, really did change how we consume TV.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah. What was the other thing I was going to say?
Did my overriding thoughts override your thought?
No.
I'm very sorry.
No. I just can't remember.
Yeah, well.
I don't know. It was something about Star Wars, I'm sure. But
probably.
There aren't as many people seeing movies in theaters.
Understandably so.
Right.
There's a plague going on.
Right. Before COVID-19, though.
Yes.
Movie theaters have been trying very hard to keep their head above water, right? And if you're like a mom and pop movie theater, somewhere, you're done.
Pretty much. I mean, if streaming services and all that shit didn't kill you already, COVID certainly has.
Yeah, yeah. And pirating.
Yeah?
Yeah. Which is a bad thing you should never do.
You wouldn't download a car. Fuck you. Yes, I would.
Yeah, I most certainly would download a car. I would download a nice one. The point is, I think, is that we are going to be consuming media a lot different in 20 years. Mm-hmm. And I don't think movie theaters have a room in that future.
There's a saying, the world turns upside down every 20 years, but we turn upside down with it so we don't even notice.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. But like 20 years ago, people were still, well, maybe less so, but people were still listening to music on like cassette tapes.
Yeah.
And like VHS was still pretty ubiquitous. And then 20 years before that, it was vinyl and Betamax. And then 20 years before that, it was
Bach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right.
But like even the course of over our lives or over our parents' lifetimes, like the world has changed multiple times in how we consume media, and it's just going to keep happening.
Right. Yeah, I think that's if it's anything that I'm saying is that is true, and I don't think Star Wars is headed toward the big theatrical releases anymore, especially when they've discovered, like you said, they can produce content on a streaming service and hit it out of the ballpark, and people love it, right? I think as divided as Star Wars fans can be, I think we all generally agree that Mandalorian is great.
Yeah.
And it's a way I like watching Star Wars like that. By the way, I like being able to sit in my house and not talk to another fucking person and watch the entire thing without moving from my couch. Yeah. And I don't have to worry about the screaming kid in the third aisle who's throwing food at people, or like that dick with his I'm not pointing at someone who's not actually there, but who's got their phone on and all this annoying shit. Which, by the way, I should say I like the movie going experience. Movie theater popcorn is my favorite food.
Okay,
I'm not shitting you. If I could get nutrition from it, it's all I would eat. That and Pop-Tarts, I think.
Okay, yeah.
I like going. It's kind of a fun. I think it's the reason people still do it. By the way, it's kind of an event.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
like if you still want that social component, you can do that. Well, if there wasn't a plague, you could like invite your friends over for your weekly Mandalorian night where you watch the new episode,
right?
And then talk about it for hours.
Yeah. So let us know what you think. Where do you think Star Wars is headed generally with regards to streaming service or big blockbuster movies?
The Disney Channel, who knows? That still exists.
Right. Yeah. Also, what you would like to see? Would you like to see for example, a perfect split between like some things are on streaming services, and we still have these really big blockbuster events for the big movies and everything.
Yeah.
So make sure you reach out to us. Make sure you like the page if you haven't yet.